the 25th Hour Radio Show.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show today here on Monster Radio AM1150. On the phone, I have the drumstress herself, Cindy Blackman Santana. Cindy, thank you so much for taking time out this morning to join me on the show.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me.
Cindy, let's start from the very beginning as far as playing the drums. The story goes, or better yet, the legend is, you were making rhythms from the moment that you were born. Now, is that true or is that a myth?
According to my mom and to my older sister, who is 6 years older than me, that is true. They tell me that I was tapping rhythms and finding things that had sound, and when I found something that had a tone to it, I got excited and I'd play that thing. My mom said that when she had me in a little sack on her back, I would even play on her back. And when I found the spots on her back that had the most tone, that's where I would center playing my little rhythms. And she thought that it was something that I would grow out of. And she says, wow, but you never did. You never grew out of it.
So how old were you when you first got introduced to the instrument, the drums, and how did that come about for you?
I was about 6 or 7, and I used to, first I would listen to music. My dad had a really nice jazz collection, and I would listen to music, listen to my sister's collection, to my mom's collection, which was mainly classical. But the drums and the percussion are always the things that stood out to me, and mainly the drum set. That always stood out to me. My mom had an invite from her boss at the time, who she was working for as a secretary, to go to his house and bring her family over for like a barbecue pool party. And so we went over there, and though I had actually had a couple of little kits that were like the little Beatles Sears kits that, broke up in a day or so, I had never played a real drum kit. And when we went over there, we were swimming in the pool, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I asked, can I please go in the house and go to the music facility? And they told me where to go, walk through the family room. So I went in there, and I walked through the family room, and, of course, I walked straight into this drum set, which belonged to one of Mr. Colbert's sons. And I couldn't resist, so I started playing the drums, even though I wasn't supposed to, and I didn't ask, but I had to do it. So that was actually my first experience playing a real drum kit. And my second experience playing a real drum kit was when my older sister was having a rehearsal. She was a singer, and she was having a rehearsal. I went to rehearsal with her and was standing off stage behind the drums. The drummer, whom I think he was a band leader, I'm not sure, but he got up to, I guess, converse with the rest of the band about some ideas or something. And when he got up, something just told me to dart over to the drums, and of course I did. And I was too small to sit at the seat and play. So I just stood there, and I grabbed some sticks, and I started playing. And that guy gave me a look like he was going to knock my block off if I didn't get off his drums. So I got off the drums quick, fast, and in a hurry. But it was totally worth it for me because I was so excited, to really feel the vibration of a real drum, because you've got wood and you've got metal and it vibrates, and there's tone there. So to feel that was like, whoa, this is incredible.
Now, we've all heard of the saying, love at first sight. Was this a similar circumstance for you as far as playing that drum kit? I mean, did you fall in love with it immediately and know you were going to spend the rest of your lives together?
I did, because it was just something that was really so natural to me and so fulfilling. And it felt like who I am. So that was something that I never questioned. There was a period when I was in high school where I had 2 other things that I was thinking about in terms of a career. I wasn't thinking that I would have to give up drums in order to follow those things that I was interested in, but I did some checking, and the first thing that I was interested in outside of drums was brain surgery, because it's so intricate and the brain is so complex. And I thought, wow, that'd be incredible. I had learned about it in biology, and we saw pictures, and we did all this study. And I asked my guidance counselor what I'd have to do to become a brain surgeon. And when he told me how many years of schooling I'd have to put in and how many hours it would take, not only per year, but per month and per day and per week, I said, no, that can't happen, because that will take away from me playing drums. So no, I don't want to do that. And then the other thing that I was interested in was becoming a lawyer. My sister, again, my older sister, obviously a very big influence in my life, she gave me some books to read. And I was reading all these books, and there was a lot of social injustice happening, and I felt, okay, I want to make a difference, and I want to do good for people. I want to look out for the underdog and help people. And so I wanted to become a lawyer. And so I looked into that. And again, it was going to take up way too much time from drumming. So I squashed those two ideas fast and quickly.
Now, in the very beginning, were you able to convince your parents to buy you a drum set so you could practice at home? And did that take a lot of convincing?
I was not able to convince them. In fact, it took quite a long time. I begged my parents for a year to get me my first drum kit. And, we're from Ohio. We moved to Connecticut, and to integrate us into the life and, get us used to living there, our parents were trying to get us children, there were 4 of us, and they were doing things to get us acclimated to the area. So for me, it was skiing. My parents bought me skis, and they bought me like the poles, the goggles, the boots, the ski jacket, the gloves. I had the skis, of course. I had everything. And so, I didn't have a drum set at this time. I had skis, and I was playing drums on any drum set I could find. I just didn't own any myself. But I was watching. I happened to be watching this Olympic run, and there was a woman who was doing the downhill slalom, and she took an incredibly horrific tumble, and she ended up paralyzed from the neck down. I gave my skis away that day, and my parents were so upset because we didn't have a lot of money, and I was in big trouble because I gave everything away except I think I kept the gloves and the jacket, and everything else I gave away. And I was really in big trouble, because we certainly couldn't afford even for them to buy me that stuff in the first place, much less me just give it away like that. And so after that, my dad said, well, you wanted skis, and I got you skis. I got you everything that you wanted, and you gave it away. So if I spend more money that I don't have on drums, how do I know you're not going to just, get disinterested and give them away or just not play them? You haven't proven to me that you'll keep something, And so I had to beg him for a year, my mom for a year, so that they knew that I was serious. And then when they saw that I was serious, they got me some drums.
Well, that's really cool. So I'm reading over your bio here, right? And it says you studied at the Hart School of Music and eventually at the Berklee College of Music. And in between that time, you began to have an interest in jazz. And being that you probably were surrounded by all genres of music at that time, what was it about jazz that really drew you in?
The thing that drew me in at the very beginning, and the thing that draws me in still to this day, is the creative aspect. It's so creative, as well, the intelligence behind it. It's so intelligent, it's so creative, it's so liberating, and, it's so freeing to the mind, and yet there is logic there. There's order. There's controlled chaos, because if you're really playing the idiom in the best possible and with the highest possible level, everything you can imagine goes into it. Intellect goes into it, heart goes into it, day-to-day living goes into it. tone goes into it. Everything that you can study or think, space goes into it. Beauty goes into it. Texture goes into it. All that we can think of goes into that music when it's played at its highest level. And so those things drew me in then, and they still draw me in. They have defined who I am and who I strive to be always as an artist and as a person. Because those things are liberating. They don't keep you in a box. They don't keep you conformed to a rule or a set of rules or to somebody else's paradigm. You know, you are able to interject and think and add. And, you know, I can play other kinds of music, and I can find a lot of joy in doing so. And I have done so. And I'm sure I will do so in the future. However, this form of music, to me, is the highest form of music, and it absolutely excites me the very most.
Now, I'm not a musician, so I'm going to ask you to school me on something here. Is there a difference in playing in a rock band as opposed to a jazz band as far as being able to express yourself creatively, you know, individually on your instrument?
Yes, there is. And of course, you know, we have titles for music because we put things in a box. Rock is a title. Jazz is a title. Country and Western is a title. Not a music that I really follow that much, but you know, it's these are titles. So, of course, it depends on who's playing the rock. You know, it depends on what band it is. It could be a band that's using rock rhythms, but that it's very creative, and there's a lot of liberty and freedom that you get, you know, while you're playing this music. That you can, you know, you can interject. But in terms of, let's say, pop rock and creative music, there are certainly plenty of differences because the amount of liberty is not afforded to you. You know, the music is great because it's very guttural and it has a great feel. So you make people feel good and you make them want to dance, and you make them feel their gut. You know, but in terms of the choices and in terms of the things that you can add as a musician, as a drummer, you know, it's not the same as playing creative music. By and large, the sound of jazz is different as well because you have music that is based on many things, and one of them is great tone. So if you look at, let's just take drums for instance. If you listen to, let's go far as back as Baby Dodge or Sid Catlett. You know, you listen to Papa Joe, you listen to Art Blakey, Max, Roy, Philly, Elvin, Tony. You listen to all these cats, and they all have incredible tone on the drums. And if you listen to rock drummers, in my estimation of great tone, there aren't that many that have great tone. John Bonham had great tone. Mitch Mitchell had great tone. And there were some others that had great tone, but across the board, especially today, a lot of cats for some reason are not thinking about great tone. They're just thinking about being loud. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of subtle differences. There are a lot of overt differences. And that is not to say that you can't have great tone in that music, because when I play that music, I bring tone with me, you know, because that's musical.
So tell me here, how did a jazz musician like yourself, inspired by jazz musicians, end up playing in a rock band with Lenny Kravitz?
We had a mutual friend by the name of Antoine Roney, who's a saxophone player. And Antoine was telling me about this rock and roll musician by the name of Lenny Kravitz. And I didn't know Lenny at all. I had no idea who he was. But I knew his then wife, who was Lisa Bonet, or his ex-wife. And I was a total fan of Lisa because I used to watch The Cosby Show all the time. So I definitely knew who she was. The thing that drew me to Lenny was that Antoine was telling, and this is before I heard a note of Lenny, but what I liked about him was that Antoine told me that Lenny also played, apart from guitar, he played drums, and that he liked Gretsch drums and K-Zildjian cymbals. And I thought, wow, a rock and roll musician who likes that? Because to me, that's the best sound that there is.
Yeah.
So, with the exception of the cymbals that I now play, which are made like K's, which are Istanbul cymbals, but, that was my thought at the time, and I thought, oh man, this is really cool. I'd like to meet him. He's got ears, and so Antoine said, well, actually, he's looking for a drummer, or he was last time I talked to him. If he's still looking, the next time he calls me, do you want to talk to him? And I said, sure. And I was just intrigued because I wasn't even thinking that it would lead to a gig or whatever, but I was just thinking I'd just like to talk to this person just because he was a rock and roll musician who liked great sound. So Antoine called me a few months later, and he said, I got my friend Lenny on the line. You want to talk to him? And I said, okay. And so he patched me through, and we started talking, and the vibe was really cool. I liked his vibe. He was very pleasant on the phone. And then he asked me to play drums over the phone. And I did. I played, and my then boyfriend was at my house, and he was in the background cheering me on, and I was playing. And I got off the phone, and I got off the drums, and I said, could you hear that? Was it clear coming through the phone speaker? Because the phone speaker is so small. And he said, yeah, I could hear that. I'm in LA. Can you fly out here right now? And I said, okay. I didn't have anything going on. And he says, I'd love you to come out for a couple of days. No strings attached. Just come out and play with my band, see how it feels. And then, I'll send you home. And I thought, okay, this will be cool. I can go and hang out with this cat. He's real cool. And I like that he loves, Gretchen K's. I can meet some musicians, play a little bit. I've never been to California. I go out there, hang out, and then come back. So the next morning at like 6 a.m., I had a ticket, and I went out there. And instead of just being a little easy get-together, it ended up being a full-scale audition. And he was staying at this mansion, which had just been purchased by Rick Rubin, the producer.
Yeah. And
Lenny was staying there. Rick wasn't even staying there yet. He had just bought it. And so there was no furniture in it. There was a couple rooms had furniture. There was maybe a chair here or there, but there was really nothing in it because he had just purchased it. And so I get to the airport, and that's where Lenny was staying. But I get to the airport, and Lenny picks me up himself. And the first thing he does is take me to this audition that he was doing for some film. He was doing an audition, a casting audition. And the second thing he did was take me to his mom's house. And I didn't know who his mom was either. But we walked in, and of course I recognized her immediately because I used to watch The Jeffersons, and I was a fan of hers. And so immediately I'm like, oh my gosh. And she was so beautiful, such a sweet soul. I fell in love with her because she just was incredible. Just a wonderfully sweet person. And then we go to Rick Rubin's house where Lenny's staying, and SIR was supposed to deliver gear because there were no instruments there. And when we got there, nothing was delivered. They I guess took a while to deliver the stuff. And while I was just sitting there by myself, kind of waiting, and he's around the house doing whatever with his friends and girlfriend and guitar players with his girlfriend. I guess they're all hanging out somewhere. I don't know. But I started seeing people come in, and first I saw somebody carrying a drum, and I saw somebody come in with a pedal, and I thought, okay, I guess this is the gear coming, but that's a weird way for a cartridge company to bring stuff in, like piece by piece. Then I realized, no, these are drummers. Because I started seeing stick bags, and there were like 40 drummers there. So it turned out to be this audition, and I was jet lagged. I was a little tired, so I went out by the pool outside, and I fell asleep in one of the lawn chairs. And his assistant, Deborah, she came looking for me. She said, Cindy, Lenny started already. He didn't see you, so he had some other drummer play first. He wanted you to play first, but so now you're up next. So I got myself together, woke up and went in and played. And when I played, he basically called the auditions off. He says, okay, I want Cindy to join. And somebody, I believe his manager, said, well, man, you got like 38 other people just standing out there thinking that they were going to get to audition. You should at least hear them. So he let all the people play, and I went. By that time, there was a bedroom ready for me where I was going to stay. So I went upstairs there, and I laid down to fall asleep. And so he auditioned all the people, and I think he found one in that bunch that he liked. And then there was one other who was flying in from London the next day, who ended up playing with Robert Plant. So there were two drummers that he was going to hear, two other drummers. So the following day, I played opposite each of those drummers. I would play, the other drummer would play, and then I would play, the other drummer would play. So he ended up still choosing me, and instead of staying for 2 days, I stayed for 2 weeks and did my first video with him, which is called Are You Gonna Go My Way? And we walked outside. He walked me outside, he and his then bass player, the guitar player, and the manager. And he says, so you want to join my band? And I said, okay, when do we start? And he said, we started 2 weeks ago.
That's a really cool story.
Yeah, man. And that was, I got there right after Christmas in 1992. I ended up spending New Year's there. So from the end of 92, that was my first time playing with him. So we've had an association for quite a long time. And I like Lenny because, like I said, he's got ears for sound. He's a real stickler on tone. And that, to me, says a lot about your quality and the way that the music is going to come off. It says a lot about who you are. So that, like I said, that's one of my favorite things about him.
So I want to skip ahead real quick because I don't want to keep you on the phone too long, but I have to talk about you and your relationship with Carlos, right? Carlos Santana, Cindy Blackman Santana, for all of you out there listening who may not know, Cindy plays drums for Santana and is also married to Carlos Santana. And I think that's really cool that you're not only sharing your life together, but you're sharing your music together. And I'm serious when I say this. Are you guys ever at home just chilling, watching The Big Bang Theory, Walking Dead, and all of a sudden creativity hits one of you and Carlos maybe looks over at you and says, grab your drumstick, Cindy. I got this groove in my head. We need to lay it down.
All the time. It happens all the time. It happened yesterday. It happened this morning, actually. And it was just something we talked about. We didn't play, but we were just talking about ideas and talking about different things. We talk about different concepts. And sometimes the concepts are not directly about music, but they lead to a creative idea. So we could be talking about, some theory involving the earth or involving the cosmos or involving spirituality, involving humanity. And then it can lead to, some sort of song idea or some sort of rhythm with putting this melody over that melody, or mixing, two things together, how about if we put this song over top of that one, and then we would come out with this one, so that's what goes on all the time.
So you have Kravitz, you have Santana, side stuff, right? But you got your own band too. Are you out and about playing with your band right now, or anything coming up or planned for the future with your band?
We just did some East Coast dates. We played in New York City at the Jazz Standard, and then we went down to Bethesda, Maryland, and played at another beautiful venue called the Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club. And right now, we've also recorded a record that's in the process of being finished. So that's going to come out too, and that's not just with my band. There are some guests on there, like John McLaughlin is on it, Carlos is on it, Vernon Reed is on it, Neil Evans is on it, Benny Ritfold, Matt Garrison, and so we have a bunch of guests, and then my band is on it too. Aurelian Goodneck, Zakai Curtis, and Rashawn Carter. Also, Yamin Allworld is on it, and Ray Angry. They're both on a track on it. So we have, quite a really cool lineup of people, and we're going to add a few more, just because some stuff still needs some vocals on it and some melody. And I'm going to sing on a few tracks. I've already sang on one. I'm going to sing on a couple more things. And hopefully that will be out late fall or this winter. Depending on, when we finish it, we'll figure out when the best release period is. But that's going to be exciting. And the next thing we have is in October, October 29th in Baltimore. We're going to play down there with my band.
Now, are you a big social media person? Do you have your own online presence you want to make my listeners aware of?
Yes, I have a website, CindyBlackmanSantana.com, and I have a Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. And, there's some really great fans on there and great people who come and comment. And I get on there as much as I can. Honestly, I have somebody who does a lot of posting for me, but I get on there myself and try to answer people as best I can, because I just appreciate when people take their time to come to the site, to come to my Facebook page. I want to let them know that how much I appreciate it. So I converse with them myself, and I do postings myself. Like if I have little pictures of some backstage things or some stuff from tour, I share with people, and they show their appreciation for that too. So it's a nice exchange of energy there.
Well, Cindy, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me on the show. It's been my pleasure speaking with you, and the best of luck to you and Carlos moving forward in life.
Oh, thank you so much. Definitely appreciate this time and look forward to doing it again.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.